3. Well, it's been a while since my last video, and so I guess I'll start with a little quick update. I went ahead and did my research paper update and got it sent off to the members of Congress that are doing the gun control legislation. I sent it to all my representatives and senators, and also to President Biden and Vice President Harris. So we'll see what happens. I got a letter written by one of my senators. I got it back today. So they actually took the time to read the email and respond. It wasn't even a form email, so that was cool. Okay, so after that I got really sick, and so I kind of missed a week from that as well. Okay, so let's get on to the news of Betsy. So I haven't even looked at Betsy for 2 weeks, but I've been, during that time of being sick, I was trying to get some parts ordered for the next phase of Betsy, which is getting the TKX transmission installed, and which, you know, new clutch, have to work out the mount, the shifter, the drive line, all the stuff. I still have, as suspension steering goes, I still have to just run through the front end with the torque wrench and get all the cotter pins in. But today I am shifting gears. I am going to pull out the T5 transmission and start comparing with the TKX and figure out how I'm going to get this TKX into Betsy. So I'm just looking for my tools to do same. I've always had these. It's been so many years since I've done it, I don't know where they are. But one tool is this right here, which is the end of the old speedo cable when I had to replace it in the car. I just whacked off the cable and put a plug over that so I can just stick this in the back of the transmission there where the cable comes out to keep the fluid from coming out. I also have a round plastic sheath that slides on the output shaft and seals to the seal in the back, so I can pull out the drive line, put that plug in there, and then I can pull the tranny out without making a mess. So I haven't been able to find that little plastic thing, and I have looked all over. Of course, you know, this place is a disaster, so I don't know where it has ended up. I haven't used it in, you know, a few decades, shall we say, but in my mind's eye I can still see it. In the meantime, I've just been sort of cleaning up the tools because I'm moving from one big mess to another big mess. Okay, so yeah, it's another big mechanical contrivance. How I'm going to mate the TKX to the 302. What sort of bell housing / adapters / whatever am I going to use? I know what's available. I'm not sure that I want to use those. So every installation of a TKX I've seen, of early Mustangs, whatnot, they end up mounting the transmission straight up, and of course then they have to butcher the tunnel with a hole saw. So I've not seen one installation where they have a console in the car. I'm keeping my console, which means my installation has to be different. I'm still expecting to have to clock the transmission towards the driver's side. It's from my perspective, of course. Somewhere between 4 and 6 degrees in order to get the shifter to come right up through the stock hole, right up through the console. Yeah, that's what I want to do. So, what I don't know is, this is a bigger transmission. I don't know if I can tilt it. I don't know how much room there is to clock it any degrees one way or the other. I don't know where I'm at with that, and I won't know until I get it up in there. But I am for sure not doing the American Powertrain solution, which is to drop the back of the transmission 2.5 inches. I'm not doing that. I want to keep everything tucked up nice and neat. I want my motor sitting properly in the car so my fan works properly behind the radiator. I mean, it screws up so many things. Clutch linkage. If you do that type of transmission installation, you can't use the stock Z-bar, the stock mechanical clutch linkage. You can't run a fan on your water pump. Just all the usual stock things for the car. You can't do that if you use that type of a transmission mounting system. So that's what I'm doing. I got to figure this out, and the first step is to get it apart and start comparing one tranny to the other. I don't even know if the input shaft cover on the TKX will fit the back of my adapter for the T5. I don't know. It would be nice if it did, because that would solve a lot of problems in the installation. So I don't know if I'm welding up the bell housing and tapping holes. I don't know if I'm buying a new bell housing. It's about, I don't know, last time I checked, $1,400 for a QuickTime bell housing that has a custom clock to the tranny mount on the back. I may do that because that way I get to have an SFI transmission. Another option is a Lakewood bell housing. They're a lot bigger, bulkier, heavier, but the back of it is completely flat, and I could just mark the holes and drill them and tap them, and that one would work. So that's where I'm at today. Time to dive under the car and get busy. So let's get to it. All right, so the T5 is out, and now I got to figure out how to mock up the TKX to the bell housing so I can get my measurements. You're looking at my bell housing. I just took off the back of the motor. There's the new TKX. And here's adapter that I made, back in 1983. And this is how the whole thing worked. Here's original holes here, here, and here. I welded it up on the inside, so you can see where I welded it. And that is so I could drill a hole right next to here and put this stud in. Here I just have a nut on the back side. So this is just a stud that's screwed in, but then it's backed up by a nut. This is an original hole, and this hole here has been moved slightly. So what that means is this adapter has 6 degrees of clocking towards the, top towards the driver's side. Here's the situation anyway. The adapter was made for the T5, and this diameter here is larger than that diameter there. So this adapter will not fit properly over here. It just, it's loose. Plus the depth of the recess here was machined for the T5, and the TKX has a thicker bearing retainer than the T5 does. I don't want to order a bell housing until I know how many degrees I'm going to clock this transmission in order to get the shifter and all this stuff working right. And I can't use this bell housing to test it. What do? They sell an adapter for these, but it's like $300. Just to be able to figure out what I want to do. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense at all. So that's what I am pondering today, is how am I going to go about testing? I could chuck this up, mill the depth of it, so that it will flush up to the TKX. Take the studs out, bolt the TKX in straight up. I mean, I can't use that for actual driving because unless I make a ring for this and press it in there. So there's that possibility. kind of like to keep this stuff intact so that when I sell a transmission, I can sell the adapter. I have this bell housing that's already set up for the conversion, and then I also have a bell housing for a inline 6. It's a 67 200 bell housing that has the large pattern like this, and it's already been welded and modified to use this adapter because I had it in my car for a while. So, you know, if you were looking for a adapter kit to put a T5 in your Mustang, there it is behind a 302, 289, whatever. But if you wanted to put it behind a 6-cylinder, I have the adapter for that too. So my drill press here has a 1/2-inch chuck. So you can tell by all the aluminum everywhere that I used it for machining. So basically this is what I did. I just chucked up an end mill, and I put my adapter in like so, set the depth I wanted, locked it, and then I could just run it by hand and mill my adapter. So what you can see is, I don't know if you can see this by looking at it, you can see I took about 1/16 of an inch off of the whole thing, and then I had to deepen these cutouts for the bolts. I had to widen them just slightly too because the bolts on the TKX were in slightly different places. And there's one extra rib at the bottom of the bearing retainer that just goes straight down, and I had to make a little notch for that. But basically that's what I did. And so I just did all that machining by hand, just setting the depth and taking a little out at a time. I can set the stop here on my drill press, and then I just run it around by hand like this, being careful not to let it grab or get away from me. And then it just was an easy machine, although boy, I can see I didn't quite get that like I should have. So let me just go ahead and show you what I mean by so I'll just get the depth in there just about like so, just enough so it's not, I don't want it to cut any more depth. Okay, I've got my drill press running full tilt, so here we go. I'm just gonna dress that little piece off right there that I missed.
Okay, I'll spare you all the noise here. Suffice it to say that this actually worked pretty good.
Just like that. So there you can see how much hand machining I did. You know, it doesn't look like CNC, but it sure gets the job done.
So with that adapter machined, I can now bolt the transmission and bell housing together. And I did bolt it in the straight up position, so it has no clocking.
Well, hi. Welcome to Don's Manufactory. Yeah, back under Betsy here. I've been working on the TKX swap, but I hand machined it for the depth of the retainer so that I could at least mock this up and see how it all fits. And as you can see, let me get the light around here. As you can see, there's my cross member, how that worked out. Now the transmission isn't as high as it's going to be because I am still, let's see if I can get my hand up in here, I'm still waiting for the shifter from Modern Driveline. But the stock motor mount works, the stock cross member works, but I wanted to kind of show you how much room there is around this transmission. Here's the driver's side. We've got
the, let's see if I can back it up so you get a little more perspective. Here's the backup light switch. And you can just see how much room there is. There's a ton of room here. See, no clutch. Just the input shaft going into the pilot bearing. All in all, I don't even think I need to redo my drive line. I think it's the right length. So all I have to do is change the yoke. You can see how I don't have the seam sealer going all the way over the top of the hump because the transmission was in. But that, and there were some spot welds over here on the seat pan that I didn't get to paint or prime, and I'm going to do that now. And I'm going to take this opportunity to get the emergency brake cables up where they belong, put the brake lines in, the fuel line in, so that all that stuff underneath the car is up. When I'm done with this swap and the transmission goes back in, I'll be done under the car. That's the general idea. Alright, so let's jump over to the other side and I'll show you how much room there is over there. We are now on the passenger side. So here we've got a, let's see, what is that? We've got speed sensor here. And this is, what the heck is this one? I don't remember. Okay, skip those. Okay, you can see how much room there is. It's a little different here. Let's see if I can give you perspective on that. How much room there is between the tabs and the tunnel. And there's plenty of room. I mean, I'm really surprised how much room there is around this transmission. You can kind of see how much room there is. I'm trying to give you the best perspective I can here. This is where my shifter ended up because I did not alter this. I got to have this shift hole in the same position so that it fits my console. And I'm getting the modern driveline short shifter, which will drop the shifter down to at least an inch, maybe an inch and a half. So it should be, you know, the shifter should end up right about here coming out of the hole, which is right where it needs to be. Hi, welcome to Don's Manufactory. Well, I'm out here looking at Betsy and, you know, I'm having a really hard time keeping my mind on my work.